long list of reasons why it's stupid to employ a general manager that you're not going to be employing after this season is that there are actual events that require an actual and active GM. Good morning to you. Good. Thursday morning, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. The MLB draft is one of those events, obviously, though I've been assured up, down, and sideways that the draft and the status of Ben Cherington aren't linked in any way. And I believe that because the work still gets done. And just think about it for a second. The scouts are still scouting. The analytics are still analyticking. And the people who oversee the draft, notably Steve Sanders, are, they're still here. They're still doing their thing. And the information that they accumulate is proprietary, which, for those who don't know the business world, means it belongs to the Pirates, not to the general manager. So the draft is the draft. Now, does Cherington have an outsized influence on the draft? Sure, especially at the top. Is he going to make or break it in one direction or the other? Probably not. But then there's the trade deadline. This, of course, comes at the end of next month. And it could not be clearer that the Pirates won't be adding. Why would they add? And that it, in fact, will be just another one of those years where you look at all their older guys who are on one-year deals and you say, all right, we can move them as rentals. The Jose Quintana model, even though there were people before Jose who fell into that. You have him, you sign him, he's a bargain, he plays well for you, and somebody somewhere says, wow, we could use someone like that. Pirates put that out on a shopping list, and somebody comes and knocks on the door and they give you their, 28th best prospect. Or most often, actually, when it comes to Cherington trades, you don't even get somebody in the other team's top 30. But they go, because why would they stay? So if I look at current active roster, Pittsburgh level roster, the guys that I see that would kind of stand out in this regard would be Andrew Heaney. In fact, one could argue that Heaney really was this year's Quintana. 1 year, $5 million deal. Really nice look to it, even as it was signed. And he's lived up to it. Hasn't been spectacular, but, you'll take a 3.33 ERA over 14 starts. You'll take a 1.11 whip. You'll take a 218 opposing batting average. He's been good. He's pitching today, by the way, as well against the Tigers. This will be in game 1 of the doubleheader. Heaney draws the short straw and faces Tarek Skubal. We don't know yet who Paul Skeens will be facing in the nightcap. Regardless of the actual result, not just for Heaney, but for any of these starters, including Skeens, meaning wins and losses, because the team's offense is just pathetic. You can probably count on Heaney improving the numbers he's put up to date. And as such, you can probably count on him being traded. So yeah, he's kind of an easy one. But the rest of them, especially when you get into prospects or players of actual longer-term value to the Pirates, this starts getting a little bit goofy. And I'm going to throw a couple of examples out, and I'm not going to do this because there's any information to support these being plausible. It's just that I'm trying to make a point here. So again, Heaney, I fully expect, will be traded. The 1 year rental types, end of the term types, yeah, that. But let's say that Cherington finds some stones, really, for the first time in his tenure and says, listen, I'm so tired of not being able to hit. I'm so tired of not having hardly any hitters in the entire system, top to bottom. it's well past time. It actually is well past time that I move one or more of our pitching prospects in exchange for somebody else's hitting prospects, or even an active roster hitter. So this is the part where you cringe. And Charrington says, I'd like to trade Bubba Chandler. I'd like to trade him for, I don't know, some outstanding hitter in the Baltimore system. Baltimore needs pitching. We need hitting. And it's at this point, I believe, based on stuff that I've heard, that the owner would step in and say, no, we're not actually going to do that. And it wouldn't necessarily be that the owner is opposed to the trade or to the concept of the trade or even just trading Chandler. It would be, I don't trust you to get a hitter back because you and hitting are vampires and crosses. I don't have cause after 5.5 years to believe that you're the guy to do that. Okay, end the hypotheticals. What this organization needs, and I do mean needs, is someone capable of making that trade. But even in the moment, if Nutting made his move, today, Pirates get swept in Detroit. Oh, no, the humanity. And he says, that's enough. We're going to have a new GM by the weekend. None of this is happening, by the way. I'd think that Nutting would both want and probably insist that whoever his new GM is, and I'm not talking about an interim, I'm talking about a full-time new GM, would want to come in and really, really survey things, which is another possible benefit from making the change now. The new GM can come in and observe and analyze everybody at all levels while they're still performing. In fact, he or she would have more than half a season to do an observation like that, including your very best talent, including whatever it is that you see in Chandler. And you take your time and you make that move right. But this gets you nowhere. So sure, you want to trade Heaney and get back somebody's 18-year-old Dominican Summer League prospect who hasn't cracked the organization's top 30 list, and maybe they can throw in some international cap space. Yeah, go nuts, but that's it. That's it. When we come back, J1Q.
If you're looking for a great dining experience, look no further than North Shore Tavern. Located directly across Federal Street from PNC Park, next door to Mike's Beer Bar, North Shore Tavern is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Enjoy your steak finished on a hot lava stone in front of you, where you ensure each piece is cooked to exactly your liking. Or try their rotating selection of entrees, hot sandwiches, salads, and burgers, all while enjoying the ambiance dedicated to the great players and history of the Pittsburgh Pirates all around you. Come see why everyone's talking about North Shore Tavern and steak on a stone.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Bob Elliott, who asks, DK, where does the dereliction of duty fall when you have an ownership and a management group that sits on their hands watching as an entire season is spiraling down the toilet? It's mid-June, and these guys are all treating this season like it's mid-August. How sad for the fans, the players, and the city. I really hope, Bob, that your point, the one that you bring up, in the most general sense possible, doesn't get lost. Because it can. It can. Everyone had their crescendo of being really, really mad and chanting "sell the team" and venting even a little bit more, somewhat ironically, when Derek Shelton was fired, but Ben Cherington wasn't. And PNC Park, in turn, became a legitimately uncomfortable place to play for the Pirates. But then, as with pretty much everything in life, everybody gets a lot of stuff out of their system. The tables inevitably turn at least a little, and they have under Don Kelly. And then everybody just kind of forgets that they were mad or forgets why they were mad. And it becomes what I believe you're describing, Bob. But here's a fact in all of this. And I'm going to read directly off the team's official transactions list to support this. On May 8th, Shelton was fired. Kelly was promoted to manager. That was on May 8th. On May 9th, Emmanuel Valdez, you might remember him, was placed on the IL, and Ji-hwan Bae was brought up from Indianapolis. Now, if you want to be that individual who counts these types of moves as meaningful, I can read all of those off to you. And in fact, just for the heck of it, I will. On May 14th, the Pirates claimed utility man Michael Hellman off waivers from the Cardinals. The next day, they optioned Hellman to Indianapolis. The next day, they designated Hellman for assignment, and they selected the contract of another utility man, 30-some-year-old Nick Solak from Indianapolis. They optioned Bay back to Indy. They sent Nick Gonzalez out on a rehab assignment. On May 17th, they reinstated Spencer Horwitz from the IL, sent Matt Gorski back to Indy. On May 28th, reinstated Andy Rodriguez from the IL, placed Joey Bart on the IL. Oh, boy. June 2nd, I'm going to start skipping some of these. They claimed another utility guy, Ronnie Simon, from the Marlins, and optioned him to Indianapolis. I guess he still exists. I don't see him coming off any of these other ones. June 7 put Andy on the IL. June 11 sent Joey Bart out on a rehab assignment. Hitters. Yeah, they called up Billy Cook yesterday from Indy. That's what's actually happened in the 6 weeks since Shelton was fired. Nobody, to my knowledge, is talking about this anywhere. The GM was put on public blast by the guy signing his paychecks for whatever pittance that happens to be worth. And his response to this, even while watching Kelly have some modest success in that span, is to just continue to do nothing. It is who he is. It is what he does. No, it's not anywhere near as sexy a narrative as the Bricks controversy, as the Roberto Clemente number 21 being covered by that ad, as, you know, that stuff that makes a huge impression on the lowest common denominator. But this is the thing, okay? This is the thing. There's a general manager doing nothing. There are two people that he answers to who in turn are doing nothing about the nothing that he's doing. Remember, Cherington answers to Travis Williams. I don't believe for a split second that Williams could unilaterally fire Cherington, but I would imagine that his recommendation to do so to Nutting would probably push Nutting closer to doing that. And then there's Nutting himself. There is not one, there are not two, there are three people right now who are doing exactly what you just described, Bob. That's your dereliction of duty. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.